On this week's episode of What the Homestead, we're going to pick some peas, we're going to try to grow some cucumbers, we're going to check out the bees, and last but not least, we're going to make some jelly. So let's get ready to What the Homestead. Alright, starting with the bees, if you've seen in previous episodes, we put up a mason bee house, and looks like some mason bees have moved in, or some paper wasps. I'm not sure which. We're going to keep an eye on it and see what happens there. My neighbor said the squirrels were stealing her tomatoes, and I did not want the squirrels to steal my tomatoes, so I put up this scary owl. Very scary. You're afraid. Everyone's going to be afraid. That right there is going to stop the squirrels dead in their tracks. They're going to be afraid. Okay, so some of the vegetables we got ready going here to harvest. We got some beets. They look really good. I do like beets. I was pretty excited to get to pick these and harvest these and going to eat them. They're going to be really good. And you can eat the beet and you can eat the greens as well. So a combination there. And then we picked the peas. So I had a lot of peas. I had to pull the peas down as they had reached the end of their season, but my wife pulled the peas out of the pods and made some shepherd pie with those peas, and she said they were really good. So now we got to get ready for our next plant. Since we pulled the peas, we're going to put in some cucumbers. So I got some cucumber seeds here. I'm just going to start them inside in the little growy thing here I got. Put some holes in the dirt. I'm going to put in some cucumber seeds here, and we're going to give this a go. And I can tell you in the end, everything fails. But in this video, it's going to work out. But in upcoming videos, I have some videos where the cucumbers did take a turn for worse. But I started out right. I got them going here, got them watered. I had it actually kind of cold at the time, so I put on the electric blanket to keep the dirt warm so they'd grow inside the house right there. So I set a regular electric blanket and then the grow lights, and they grew. So I put them in the dirt outside, and I thought to myself, I want these things to grow vertically. I don't want them growing all over my yard. So I made this kind of T-frame here out of wood, and then I just got some twine. Very pretty twine, by the way. It's pink. I actually had used that twine to mark off where the bees are so that the landscaper, the guy who comes and mows my neighbor's yard, would not mow near my bees because I was afraid they would come out and bite him. So anyway, I had some leftover twine, so I thought I'll put it onto my T-frame here. So I just put some down on the bottom, and then I strung it back up around the top, and I kind of just went along one after the other, string, until I had the whole thing completely filled up with string. And the idea is that the cucumbers will grow up the vine and, like I said, not grow out through the yard. So that is the hope, and I think it's looking pretty good. I did find it was a little wobbly, so I just got some screws and some more wood, screwed it down the board from one side of the bottom to the other side of the bottom there, so it'd have a little more support. Finished up by just putting in a couple of more extra staples at the top so the strings would stay nice and strong. So the cucumbers started to grow up, and they were doing a really good job, and I realized there wasn't enough string. Like they kind of sprouted and going in all different directions instead of just going up one string, which I kind of thought they were going to do. So I ended up taking some of this metal bar I've got here, and I just thought, well, I'll put this in there, and that'll give them something else to cling onto. So I put in one row. This stuff was pretty cheap. I just got it at Lowe's. I think it was like $5 or something, and I cut it so it would fit. And I put in about 3 rows of that. So now the cucumbers could grow up both the string, and then it could loop around on that, just giving a lot of stuff to hold on to as it grew. So looking forward to some fresh cucumbers. I can say I already did harvest one cucumber. So all this work, and I got a cucumber. Okay, to the bees. This is early in the season, so the bees are just starting to mate. They're coming out on orientation flights, and I wanted their water dish. I wanted to give them some water. It's starting to get hot. So I wanted to find a way to. I have some rocks in the water dish, as I'll show you in a minute. We're gonna take a look inside of the hive here just to see. I just added this top box. I wanted to see how it was going. Not much happening yet. There's not even a whole lot of bees up in there yet. But we're just going to check out. I just pulled this one out, and I think what I did is I did not have these frames connected to each other, so they were starting to make stuff on the bottom, and like the frames weren't close enough, so they started to make these little connector pieces, and when I opened it, it broke off and it dripped, so not good at all. But I'm going to put it back in and kind of tighten them back up, and hopefully that's kind of one of the center frames. I hadn't started moving out to the outside frames. Anyway, back to the water. As I was explaining, I wanted to have this water, but I had these I saw this online, these floating bee islands. So I thought, wow, this is kind of a cool idea. So I'm going to buy them. They weren't that expensive. They're kind of cheap. Got them on Amazon. And the idea is you put them in the water and they can float. But you know what? I didn't really like. They don't really float that great. They look like they're going to float. Here's my original water dish. Just a little dish, and I got some rocks in there. And you can see there's one of the bees in there already drinking. He likes it. He's having a good time. So here's my bigger one, which is closer to the hive. And I was like, I'm going to move the jar. I'm going to put this in here, and it's kind of sitting on the rocks. And I'm like, well, when the water gets lower, they're not going to be able to get to the water. So I was trying to get it to just float, but it didn't really float. It kind of sank. So I don't know if I really like those. I don't know if I'd invest in those if I were you. Last but not least, I wanted to pick some of these blackberries. I got this blackberry bush going. I mean, this is the kind of thing I actually at first was trying to pull these blackberries out because they were so annoying. Where I wanted to grow flowers where they were, and I ended up just being like, let them take over, and they did. They took over like crazy. So I got a whole bunch of blackberries. I got some, mushed them up. I wanted to make some jelly, so I got Kim on the job here. She knows how to make jelly. I don't. I just kind of watched and videotaped it. Boiled the jars and stuff so they'd be sanitary and ready to go. Here's our mush. Watch, this is the best part right now. What are you putting there? Some sugar. Just some sugar? No, some sugar. You actually have to put a lot so the pectin works. I found that if you don't put enough sugar, the pectin, you can get low sugar pectin, but I didn't want to put in that much sugar. But if you don't, the pectin doesn't work, so you got to put in a lot of sugar. Fill up the jars, get the tops on them, and at this point right here, we're just going to cook it all down. It's cooked down. We're going to boil it to get them jarred up, and then I'll have jars of jelly laying around, which I don't even eat jelly very often. I like it, but I made this jelly, and I made jelly with the pindo palm. We have pindo palms, so it's kind of a palm tree. It has orange, like marmalade flavor to them. Put them in here. We're going to can it. Just going to boil this. Let that sit there we'll set the clock for 10 minutes. And then when we come back, that stuff's going to be ready to put away. It's going to be jarred. That's how you do the jarring, the canning, as you will. But I'm doing jarring. So anyway, that's it for this week's What the Homestead. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you on the next time.